He's one of the founding members of the great rock band Jefferson Airplane, Mr. Marty Balin. Now, Marty, tell me, where did you grow up and what was your musical background like?
Well, my dad was into, good singers and big bands. My mother, she was into, Johnny Cash and things like that. So, I got into it myself. I was just, all the kind of music that was on the radio and jukeboxes, that kind of thing.
Who were you personally listening to when you were growing up being a teenager? Who were you majorly influenced by musically?
Oh, God. At different times of my life, different people. When I was young, of course, I loved all the early rock and rollers and, dug all that stuff. And, as I got older, of course, I was, around other people that, who were playing great music at the same time. And then there was all the English stuff happening and, the soul stuff in America. I mean, it was just everything. It was there and everything was influencing me. I was just caught up in the wonderful world of music.
I know you started your career yourself, and then how did you get involved in the amazing band Jefferson Airplane way back in the mid-'60s? How did that all evolve?
Well, I used to be in a folk band, and we played all these clubs in San Francisco, the Hungry Eye, the Purple Onion, all those famous places. And then I wanted to use a drummer, and I wanted to have pickups on the guitars, and nobody would hire me. And so I thought, we'll open a club. And fortunately, I came across some people who would come and watch me perform in this folk club, and they had some money to invest, and I said, give it to me. I'll build a club and put a band together, and, I'll have the band, you can have the club. And so I did that, and then they helped me, and then out of the woodwork came all these other bands that were looking for places to play, too. And so, suddenly everybody was playing music, And
then I know you guys got signed to a major record label, and then the Airplane got together with the debut album Takes Off, which is one of my personal favorite albums, just because it's so simple and so direct, but so personal, I think, on those songs on that album. And in fact, I love the track It's No Secret that you did. How did you come up with that beautiful song, It's No Secret?
Well, we were playing, around the Fillmore Auditorium with, and we were like the house band there, and we played with all the different acts that came through. And I heard this record by Otis Redding, and These Arms of Mine. So I took it to Bill Graham. I said, hey, hire this guy. I want to see what this guy's like, So he did hire Otis Redding, and Otis and Redding came, and was a big hit, of course. And I got to hang out with Otis. So I just wanted to write a song like Otis would do, something that. And so I kind of wrote that for him,
And then in 1967, you guys took the world by storm with the album Surrealistic Pillow. How did you personally come up with the final track on that album, titled Plantastic Fantastic Lover? Love that tune.
Oh, I was just, we'd be so out of our minds from acid and drugs and staying up all night watching the TV, and the TV would go off after the pattern and the American anthem, and you'd see these little dots, and everybody would sit around and stare at the little dots, and you'd begin hallucinating on the little dots and see all these wonderful things happening in movies and everything. It was amazing until you passed out and went to sleep for the next gig. But, that was my plastic, fantastic lover late at night, when I was all by myself, so I just kind of wrote it about a TV set.
Then towards the end of the 1960s, you and Paul Kantner came up with probably one of the best anthems of the 1960s, the title track from the band's Volunteers album. What was your personal experience writing that with Paul, and how do you view that song today?
Well, at one time we were all living in this mansion in San Francisco, the Airplane. All the members of the Airplane were living together, and I remember one time I was in my room and I was being awakened by the sound of garbage cans crashing and outside the window, and I looked out and there was this Volunteers of America truck picking up the garbage. So I just leaned over and started writing this lyric, hey, look what's happening out in the streets. And got a revolution, hey, I'm dead, I don't know, some jumble from my sleep. And we had a studio downstairs where we would rehearse during the day and night, and so I took it down there and I gave it to Paul, and I said, hey, Paul, here's a lyric, put this to music. So he stole some old Jerry Garcia Grateful Dead riff, some banjo thing from Jerry, and we started doing it that night, and the next thing I knew, we were doing it, and it it became known as this big anthem, you know, and now it's like, geez, I can't get off the stage without doing it, you know, and people all get up and dance and go nuts and jump around, and I get them to sing it, and, you know, it's kind of fun as a showpiece, you know, but, you know, in fact, the other night I was working, and I had it on there, and I was trying to throw in some of the current, you know, slang, hey, we're the 99%, we're going to occupy this place, you know, with some yacht club somewhere, I don't know. It was funny, you know, but I mean, you know, it's grown way beyond me, you know.
Right.
I mean, it's a fun, you know, get-off song, you know.
During the 1970s, you left the band to pursue other projects, and then you went back to the band, and then it was named Jefferson Starship at that point to record the hit Miracles. What another great song that you wrote for the band. What was that experience getting reunited with the band at that point, and how did Miracles come about?
I had written a song with Paul for the Starship band, Caroline, and so they got some attention from that, so they came back from tour and said, well, you got to join the band, you know, we can't go out and do that song that's being played on the radio without you there to sing it. So I said, well, you know, I want to do the kind of music I'm interested in. You know, I got this other song I like to try. And so they said, okay, whatever you want. So I put it down, and they all kind of like, gee, I don't know, man. You better work on that. I don't know. That's weird, man. And, you know, the record company came and said, hey, you've got to put Grace on this song. You've got to. So naturally, Grace hated to say baby or I love you in a song. You know, she hated that. So naturally, I wrote baby, 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 I love you, and all these things for her to sing in the background. I cracked up, you know. So I took her and Paul and I said, here's what you guys do. And I sang it for them, and then they did it, you know. And so it was hilarious, you know. And at first I thought, you know, because nobody liked it at first. They were kind of thought it was a long tirade, you know, love song, which, you know, was anathema to those guys. You know, I didn't know. It came out, and boom, you know, it took off, and I thought, well, okay, other people like it anyway.
The studio album Spitfire was introduced to the world, which was home of a tune called With Your Love that you co-wrote, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the background behind With Your Love?
Oh, I was probably in love with some girl at the time, and my buddy Vic Smith, a good guy who taught me a lot of guitar, had these chord changes. He showed them to me, and so I was playing them in my house one day on my guitar, and but another buddy of mine, the drummer Joey Covington, walked in and came in and said, hey, With Your Love, baby. And I went, yeah, man, that's it, With Your Love. And then I just wrote the whole song in about 5 minutes after that, and had another song.
One of the last albums that you recorded with Jefferson Starship was called Earth at that point, and a tune called Count on Me. What's the story behind Count on Me?
My buddy Jesse Barish wrote that, and I do a lot of Jesse Barish songs because he and I are like compatible. We're brothers, and so he had this song Count on Me, which I loved, and I took it to Grace. I tried to get her to do it. I said, here's a good song for you, you know. But she didn't pay much attention to it or get into it. So I had it, and they needed a song, and they had heard it, and so I sang it on the album, you know. Now, that song, too, is a big show for me live, you know. I get the audience to work with me on it.
Towards the late 1970s, you wanted to branch out on your own. In 1981, you signed with EMI Records to kick off your great solo career. How did that all come about with you and EMI meeting up?
Oh, I was on trial for not living up to a contract or something, or somebody was suing me for something, which, you know, probably they didn't do their side of the contract and I did mine. So I was sitting there and I was drawing and writing this thing on the papers, and these lawyers at the trial came over and said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm writing a play about a guy who was on trial for not having a hit. And so these guys got into it, and we put on this, through a lot of rehearsals and all that, we put on this show with Bill Graham called Rock Justice.
Yes.
And EMI came up to see the show, and they were there, and then they liked the show, they wanted it, and then they said, hey, why don't you do an album, Marty? And I said, sure. And they said, okay. And so I went and did an album for them.
Wonderful. And then I know you recorded your first solo album, which included one of my personal favorite tunes from your catalog of music called Hearts. What a great, simple song, but, I mean, the delivery was just perfect on that tune. How did you come up with Hearts?
Well, that, again, is a song by my friend Jesse Barish, and he gave it to me, and I was doing it, and recorded it. And, you know, it's great. That song was a hit in so many countries, and so many people covered it, and I got all these different versions of it, from different people. And then when I went around the world, it's funny, I could just play in all these different TV shows and different bands, and they all knew the song, even though we didn't speak the same language, so it was fun to sing in all these different countries.
You got back together with Paul and Jack. How did you guys all get back together to form the band, the KBC Band?
Well, I was playing around town with my band, the Dream Band, and we were, club band, because I do a lot of songs that the Airplane never wanted to do, like funk grooves and dance hall kind of things,
Right.
So I had other bands, play the clubs, so I had a lot of tunes that did that, and then Paul, he left his band, the Starship or whatever it was, or whatever he was doing, and he wanted to rehearse, so I lent him my band and my rehearsal hall, and he would come and at night, and we'd rehearse with him, and then he somehow got a contract deal with Arista, and we got Jack, and put that thing together. That was Paul's baby.
I know, Marty, you were working on some new projects these days. Tell me about
I just had a couple albums come out, The Witcher.
The Witcher. Tell me about The Witcher.
Oh, The Witcher. Well, I was doing the Blue Highway album, and my buddy, who's my manager and works the website with me, Bertino, he came over, and he says, hey, you remember these songs, and like I told you, I had bands in the clubs who did dance grooves and things, and other songs that the Airplane and Starship wouldn't do, so he had recorded me doing some of those songs in a club, and I had forgotten about all these songs. I said, wow, those are cool tunes, man. He said, yeah. So while I was in the doing the Blue Highway, I had some of these guys overdubbing in there, and they were all pretty good players. And I said, hey, would you guys like to make an album with me? And they said, sure. I said, we'll do it the old way. We'll just go in the studio, I sing, you play, and the guy records, and we did it in 2 days, and I cut all those songs again because the quality that the guy showed me wasn't that good,
Uh-huh.
So we recorded all those songs again in about 2 days while I was doing Blue Highway.
So, Marty, are you working on any new projects? Are you doing a tour this year?
Yeah,
What are you working
I got all these new songs. I've been playing all around town and playing them. People were, just asking me to play here and there. And the other night Starship was in town, and I went over there and played with them, and that was fun. And I just got a band here in town, and I'm playing all this stuff, and I'm just finishing up a documentary because of all the in the days when the Airplane all lived together in the mansion in San Francisco. I had a camera, and Spencer and we used to shoot film, of what was going on in the house. So I found all that old footage.
Wow.
And right now I just almost finished with it. Put together a little documentary from all that footage in the mansion.
Oh,
it's
man.
like 1969.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to see that. Definitely.
Yeah, you will eventually. It's cool.
Okay.
It's really cool. There's some good moments.
Because there was an old, and I remember
everybody was young and thin and healthy looking. Oh, hey, really, it's funny to see everybody.
Yeah, that's great. Because I remember there was there is a couple videos of the mansion on YouTube, and there is this interview that's on YouTube of Jerry Garcia in the mansion, I think, with you guys. And it's just a great piece of music history. It's just so funny. I mean, you can tell everybody's whacked out of their skulls, but it's such a great piece. Oh yeah.
Is that under Airplane or Garcia?
I don't know. I think it's under one of them. I just remember Garcia looking like he's 16, 15 years old. It was just crazy.
Yeah,
it was
cool.
so funny. Yeah. It was so cool. So cool.